In the invisible spaces between Atlanta's gleaming towers and penthouse suites, there exists a class of women who move like ghosts through other people's lives. They scrub toilets in homes they'll never own. They fold sheets they'll never sleep on. They see everything and are noticed by no one. Keisha Thompson was one of them, until the night she had 30 seconds to decide between staying invisible and saving a man's life. In the sprawling, restless city of Atlanta lived a woman named Keisha Thompson. To the wealthy homeowners whose penthouses she cleaned and the bustling professionals she passed on the street, she was nearly invisible, just another black woman in a cleaning uniform, her face blending into the background of their busy lives. Her existence from the outside seemed simple: work, survive, repeat. But inside the cramped one-bedroom apartment she shared with her 7-year-old son Marcus, a different story unfolded, one thick with the weight of yesterday's unpaid bills and tomorrow's impossible deadlines. Hello, friends. Hey, everyone. Before we dive in, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your loved ones. Drop a comment below to tell me where you're watching from and what time it is there. It helps YouTube show you more stories like this one. All right, let's get started. The alarm screamed at 4:47 a.m. Keisha's hand shot out from beneath the thin blanket, silencing it before Marcus stirred. The apartment was a box of shadows, cramped, airless, smelling faintly of bleach and exhaustion. In the corner, under the flicker of a weak bulb, her son sat cross-legged on the floor, lining up his toy cars in perfect rows: red, blue, green, silver, always in that order. His lips moved, but no words came. They hadn't in almost a year. The envelope on the fridge glared at her in red ink. Final notice: $3,000 due Friday, or therapy discontinued. Her chest tightened. 3 days, 3 cleaning jobs, no car, 2 buses to everywhere. She watched Marcus gently tap each car twice, the rhythm steady, soothing. Once, he used to hum while doing it. Once, he used to call her Mama like it was a song. That was before the night his father left and silence became his language. Keisha dressed quickly, her uniform stiff with detergent. Her hands, cracked, raw, moved with weary precision. She had no time for tears. Not today. By 10 a.m., the week played back in her mind like a film reel. Mansions with marble floors and cold faces. Homeowners walked past her like furniture. Her superpower was seeing everything. Alarm codes scribbled on sticky notes, secrets whispered over speakerphones, bills left open on granite counters. Yesterday, a woman in silk had raged over a $50 overcharge. Keisha had nodded politely, while mentally calculating how far $3,000 might as well be from the moon. Her supervisor's voice echoed in her head. "You're good, Keisha, but you're replaceable. Stay invisible. Stay employed." Still, her hands never failed her. They were the only part of her that still believed. The phone buzzed at noon. Elite Home Services, emergency booking, David Chen's penthouse, 4 hours, 400 cash. Her pulse jumped. That was nearly 15% of what she needed. She looked at Marcus, sleeping under his thin blanket, and brushed a curl from his forehead. "Mama's gonna fix this, baby. I promise." As dawn broke over Atlanta's skyline, Keisha stepped into the cold, clutching her bus pass like a lifeline. The city didn't see her. But today, she'd make it listen. The second bus hissed to a stop outside a glimmering high-rise that seemed to scrape the clouds. Keisha stepped off, clutching her cleaning kit like armor. Behind her, the cracked pavement of the bus stop. Ahead, polished marble that reflected the morning sun like judgment. Inside, the lobby glowed. Gold fixtures, orchids, a scent that whispered money. The security guard's gaze lingered too long. Name? Keisha Brown, Elite Home Services. He scanned her badge, frowned, asked again. Then again. 3 times, like her face needed verification to belong here. The elevator swallowed her whole. Walls of mirrored glass threw her reflection back, uniform creased, sneakers faded. A woman who cleaned other people's lives, but couldn't polish her own. As the floors climbed, Atlanta unfolded below, tiny, distant, almost beautiful. When the doors opened, silence greeted her. A silence that cost more than her yearly rent. Floor-to-ceiling windows spilled light across white marble floors. Modern art twisted in corners like frozen motion. She stood at the edge of another universe. A woman in a gray designer suit appeared, posture sharp as glass. "Claudia Marlowe," she said, not offering a hand. "Mr. Chen is in crucial meetings. You'll stay out of sight. Office wings off limits. Clean fast, leave faster." Her tone made "invisible" sound like a command. Keisha nodded. Through the glass partition, she glimpsed him. David Chen. Early 40s. Sleeves rolled up, eyes rimmed with fatigue. Surrounded by glowing screens and hushed voices. For a moment, he looked up. Their eyes met. He smiled. Small, unguarded, human. Keisha blinked, startled. No one in places like this smiled at her. Claudia's voice sliced the air. "He's busy. Don't linger." Keisha worked quietly, but her eyes absorbed everything. Her gift, her defense. On a sleek desk, a framed photo caught her eye. David beside a woman in a wheelchair, both laughing. The headline from a nearby magazine read, "The humble genius behind the next wave of disability tech." Another article, "Chen and Marlowe Enterprises, partnership built on innovation." The picture showed David shaking hands with a tall, polished man. Vincent Marlowe, the same last name as Claudia. A silver medical bracelet lay beside a half-drunk coffee mug, type 1 diabetic. An insulin pen rested nearby. Keisha paused, glancing toward the office. David Chen, the millionaire who built machines to make life easier for others, looked nothing like the world around him. He looked human, maybe even lonely. And for the first time, Keisha wondered what secrets people like him might need her to see. Keisha had learned to move like a shadow, quiet, efficient, unseen. The adjoining bathroom felt like a separate world. Cool tile, a small sink, a door barely ajar that let sound leak in like steam. She was wiping the marble when voices drifted through, low and taut. Vincent Marlowe came in like every room owed him attention. Perfect cut suit, expensive cologne that swallowed the scent of lemon cleaner. He closed the penthouse door behind him with that soft, satisfied click people who own everything learn to make. Alone, the practiced charm drained away. He paced, jaw tight, fingers worrying the cuff of his shirt. Keisha froze. She wasn't supposed to listen. But some warnings arrive in the chest before the brain can decide. He spoke into the phone in a voice gone small as a blade. 20 minutes until signature. Everything in place. The words came out precise, rehearsed. Keisha's pulse thudded in her throat. "Cardiac arrest should read natural," he continued, voice barely above a whisper. "Insulin. Untraceable. It'll look like what diabetics do. No red flags." The syllables landed like stones. Keisha felt the room tilt. She stepped back, heart hammering, and caught his reflection in the bathroom mirror. Vincent's face was all control when he smiled, but now his eyes were animal, hungry, calculating. Through the glass partition, David sat at his desk, immersed in a video conference, headphones sealing him away. He gestured and argued softly, unaware of the shadow moving through his room. Vincent crossed to the desk as if on a stage. Keisha watched, throat dry. He hovered beside David, hands deft and casual. In a motion so ordinary it nearly camouflaged malice, he slid something from the desktop into his pocket and swapped it with an identical object from his coat. He moved like a man rearranging a set. No fuss, no drama. Then leaned close to the coffee mug at David's elbow. And, with the politeness of someone pouring cream, added a small amount of clear liquid. Keisha's lungs forgot how to breathe. The world narrowed to the sight of Vincent straightening, smoothing his suit, letting the practiced mask click back into place. He walked past the bathroom door with the confidence of a man who thought he'd already won. He did not glance at the slightly ajar door. He did not see her. Her mind assembled the cruel geometry in a single, terrible instant. Tamper with the drink. Create a medical emergency that would read like a tragic accident. Leave no trail that would point to anything but bad luck and a medical condition. A strategic collapse. A signature handed over in grief. Power shifting in an instant. Her phone was dead in her pocket. She'd forgotten to charge it after the late-night second shift. No battery, no witness, no proof. The room hummed with the ordinary sound of ventilation and distant traffic, as if nothing monstrous had just slithered through it. Keisha pressed her palm flat against the cool tile and tried to steady herself. Fear was a new animal, but not a stranger. She had fought for Marcus with hands that had never failed him. Now those hands trembled, not from weakness, but from the weight of what she had just heard. Outside, the city breathed oblivious under the glass. Inside, a mask had slipped, and everything suddenly felt very, very fragile. Keisha's pulse was still racing when she stumbled into the kitchen area. Claudia stood by the counter, tapping on her tablet, the picture of poise and precision. Keisha hesitated only a moment before blurting out the words that clawed at her throat. I saw something," she whispered. "Mr. Marlowe, he put something in Mr. Chen's coffee." "And he switched his insulin pen." Claudia's fingers froze mid-tap. Slowly she turned, her expression unreadable. "Excuse me?" "I'm not crazy," Keisha pressed on. "He's going to hurt him. I saw it. You have to stop him." For a long second, silence filled the space between them, thick, dangerous. Then Claudia's features hardened like cooling steel. "Do you have proof?" she asked flatly. "Video? Photos?" Keisha's lips parted, but no sound came. "Then you have nothing." Claudia stepped closer, voice sharp enough to draw blood. "Mr. Chen is about to finalize a deal worth millions. Those negotiations took months. If you interrupt with wild accusations, you'll be fired and blacklisted. You'll never clean another home in this city." Keisha flinched. Claudia's eyes didn't waver. "Do your job or leave quietly. That's your only warning." The hum of the refrigerator filled the silence that followed, mocking the thud of Keisha's heart. Claudia turned back to her tablet, as if the conversation had never happened. Keisha fled to the supply closet, slamming the door softly behind her. The smell of bleach and lemon hit her like guilt. Her mind spun in circles, faster than her breath could keep up. Speak up, and she'd lose everything. Stay silent, and a man would die. She pressed her forehead against the shelf, whispering to herself, "What do I do, Lord? What do I do?" Marcus's face filled her mind, his small hands gripping her fingers, the soft sound of his voice the first time he'd said "Mama" after 2 years of silence. That word had broken her heart open and stitched it back together all at once. His therapy had given her back her son. Without it, he'd slip away again, back into silence. If she spoke, they'd both fall. If she didn't, someone else would. She clenched her fists. Her hands were shaking again. But not from fear this time. From fury. When she emerged, Vincent was by the hallway, phone pressed to his ear, his voice smooth as silk. "Yes, I'm heading down now," he said, smiling faintly. "Tell the investors we'll sign as soon as David finishes his call." He turned to Claudia. "Keep everything on schedule." Perfect alibi. Perfect calm. The mask was back in place. Keisha watched him disappear into the elevator, every step rehearsed. Through the glass wall, she saw David Chen ending his video call. His face was pale, drawn. He rubbed his temple, yawned, and reached for his mug. Her breath caught. 30 seconds, maybe less, before he drank his own death. Time thinned to a single thread. Keisha watched as if from underwater, each detail magnified. David's fingers closed around the coffee mug handle. Steam braided into the office air. For a heartbeat, she saw Marcus's grin when he'd first whispered "Mama" after therapy. She remembered the envelope on her fridge. Final notice, $3,000 due Friday. Her supervisor's warning looped in her head. Stay invisible. But seeing had always been her curse and her shield. She saw the swap, the vial, the pen. She couldn't let the rest of the world treat it like ordinary. David tipped the mug. The motion was soft, ordinary, too ordinary. Keisha moved before thought arrived. She later would call it instinct. In that instant, it felt like a muscle answering a command older than fear. She ran across the marble, shoes skidding on the polished surface. The penthouse seemed to hold its breath. David's eyes opened wide as a woman lunged at him. Her fist, calloused, iron from years of lifting and scrubbing, struck his jaw. Crack. The sound filled the cathedral of glass. The mug arced through the air, spinning. Coffee painted an abstract across the marble like a wound. David toppled into the leather chair, clutching his face, stunned. Silence slammed down, absolute and awful. Then the alarms flared. Motion sensors, breach alerts, mechanical shrieks that turned the quiet into chaos. 2 security guards were on her before she could gather herself. They slammed her to the floor. The impact stole the breath from her lungs. Cold marble bit her cheek. Hands wrenched her arms behind her back with practiced force. She tasted metal and coffee. Sweet, chemical, wrong. Vincent's voice cut across the din. Theatrical and furious as he stormed back in, phone in hand. "What happened? She attacked him! Call the police!" His eyes were wide with a performance of shock and concern. David sat up, jaw reddening, bewilderment clear. "What? Why would you?" he managed. Pinned and gasping, Keisha pushed her head up enough to force the words through. "Test the coffee," she spat. "Please, test your insulin pen. Vincent switched them." Vincent leaned forward, sculpted anger. "She's unstable," he said to David, slow and sure. "This is insane." Keisha's voice sharpened, raw with everything she had left to give. "The coffee has insulin in it. The pen on your desk is poisoned. He wanted you to feel sick, inject more, die. Please, just test them." Her words trembled and then broke. "I have a son. I need this job. I wouldn't risk everything unless it was real." The plea echoed in the high-ceilinged room, small, human, unbearably fragile, while the building around them hummed and waited for someone to decide what truth would be allowed to breathe. David Chen's hand pressed against his bruised lip, blood warm on his fingers. His gaze locked on Keisha, kneeling, trembling, eyes burning with desperate truth. Vincent's voice sliced through the tension, smooth but strained. "David, don't listen to this lunatic. She attacked you. I'm calling the police." "Wait." David's tone cut through like tempered glass. He raised a hand toward the guards. "Let her up. Don't hurt her." The guards hesitated. Behind them, Vincent's expression cracked. Just for an instant. Panic. A tremor in his perfect composure. Then the mask returned. Claudia hurried in, voice sharp with concern. "Mr. Chen, you're bleeding." He ignored her, crossing to his desk. His fingers brushed the insulin pen, smooth, familiar, suddenly foreign. "This is mine," he said quietly. "I use it every day." His hand shook. He looked at the spilled coffee, then back at Keisha. "You really believe this?" Keisha's throat tightened. "I know it. I saw him switch the pens. I saw him pour something in your coffee. I'm a maid. Nobody sees me. That's why I see everything." The words hung between them, raw, unvarnished, too real to ignore. David turned to security. "Marcus, do we have diabetic test strips in the medical kit?" "Yes, sir." And I can call Dr. Patel. She's 5 minutes away. Vincent's composure slipped another inch. This is insane. You're taking the word of a maid over me? Over your partner? David didn't raise his voice. Then you won't mind if we test it, to prove her wrong. The room fell silent. No one breathed. Vincent's eyes flicked to the coffee, then the door, calculating exits. Moments later, Dr. Patel arrived. David's longtime physician, still in scrubs, hair pinned tight. She knelt by the shattered mug, dipped a glucose strip into the puddle, and frowned. "This can't be right," she murmured. "Running it again?" Another test, another pause. Her eyes widened. "Mr. Chen, this coffee contains approximately 200 units of fast-acting insulin. That's enough to kill you 5 times over." The air vanished. No one moved. The city lights outside seemed frozen mid-glow. Dr. Patel reached for the insulin pen, her gloved hand steady. She drew a drop of fluid into the reader, waited, then looked up sharply. "This isn't insulin. I'll confirm in the lab. But chemically, it appears to be concentrated potassium chloride." Vincent took a half step back, color draining from his face. "This is ridiculous." "Sir," Marcus said, blocking the door, "you're not going anywhere." Claudia's face twisted. Shock, then a quick, ugly calculation. "I didn't know. Vincent told me it was a surprise gift. Something for the investors. He said it was a new supplement." "Shut up, Claudia," Vincent snarled. She shook her head, near hysterical. "He told me to keep the maid away. Said it was confidential prep for the signing." David's voice was ice. "Marcus, call the police." Vincent snapped, rage spilling over. "You don't understand. I built this company. The investors love me. I deserved equal shares." David stared at him, jaw clenched. "You had 30% and a VP salary, Vincent. What you deserved was prison." The sirens were a thin ribbon of sound that cut across the penthouse, abrupt and clean. Detectives Martinez and Johnson moved through the room with the quiet focus of people used to gathering truth from chaos. Cameras blinked like patient eyes. For the first time since Keisha had lunged, the glass tower felt less like a fortress and more like a fishbowl. They pulled up the security feeds on a tablet, time-stamped, unblinking. The first clip played, 11:47 a.m. Vincent Marlowe in frame, composed, casual. He approaches the desk, slides his hand across the surface, and, stark and ugly in its ordinariness, pockets an insulin pen. In the same movement, he withdraws an identical object from his coat and lays it where the original sat. The detective froze the image. Then the next angle. Vincent leaning over the coffee mug, a tiny vial in hand, tilting it so delicately the motion almost looked like a courtesy. The liquid vanished into the dark brew. Johnson swiped to another camera. Hallway footage. Vincent stepping into the building earlier that morning, gloved hands tucked in a coat. He removes the gloves in the stairwell. Deliberate, premeditated. A third camera, from the garage, showed a brief handoff. A man in shadow pressing a small package into Vincent's palms. Vincent nods, tucks it away, and walks to the elevator without glancing back. The timestamps lined up like accusation. Planning, procurement, execution. Detective Martinez leaned in, voice tight. "We've got him on 3 angles. That's not circumstantial." They moved to paper. Contracts, printouts. Digital files pulled from the company server, and Vincent's phone sprawled across the coffee table. Johnson's finger found the line that made everyone's stomach drop. The partnership agreement, 49% to Vincent, followed by a buried clause in legalese. In the event of Chen's death, all shares shall revert to the surviving partner. The contract read like a trap. Financial records came next. Transaction histories, photos of betting slips, gambling debts, $2.3 million owed to untraceable bookies. Threat messages scrolled on the screen, blunt and ugly. Pay by end of month or else. Then, a life insurance policy surfaced, $10 million, bearing Vincent's name as beneficiary, filed under a shell company. The pattern was surgical: motive, means, payoff. Claudia sat across from Detective Martinez with eyes rimmed in red, the veneer of control entirely gone. Her confession came unspooled, trembling and fast. Vincent had promised her $500,000 to coordinate logistics, keep Keisha away, manage timing, smooth the optics. She'd arranged the emergency booking on purpose, selected someone disposable. "He told me it would look like natural causes," she said. I never thought he meant murder." Vincent, now handcuffed, paced at the periphery, face a mask of outrage and entitlement. "You're all idiots," he spat. "That maid will be sued for assault. Technicalities, I'll walk." His bravado was brittle. Detective Martinez stepped forward, flat and final. "You're done, Marlowe. We have everything." He gestured at the tablet, the documents, the ledger of threats and debts. Vincent's jaw clenched. The elevator's mirrored walls now reflected cuffs instead of power. Outside, the city kept moving. Drivers honking, the skyline swallowing sunlight. But inside the penthouse, carefully stacked lies had begun to crumble. Keisha watched from the doorway, bruised and trembling and absurdly, fiercely alive. The conspiracy that had felt invincible now lay exposed in pixels and paper. Her words, one maid's desperate truth, had pulled the thread. And as the detectives led Vincent away, the world around the glass tower felt, for the first time in weeks, a little less fragile. The room had quieted after the chaos, the scent of spilled coffee still faint in the air. Keisha sat across from David, disbelief lingering like a shadow. "You see things others miss," David said, voice steady now, bruised lip curved in a small smile. "That's not just a survival skill, it's a gift." Keisha blinked. "A gift? I almost got arrested." He shook his head. "No, you saved a life, mine." He leaned forward. "I need someone who notices details, who can't be bought, who acts on principle even when it costs everything." She frowned. "You already have a security team." "Not one I trust anymore." He slid a folder across the table. Inside, an offer letter. Director of Security Operations, $120,000 salary. Full benefits. Marcus Thompson covered under company insurance. Keisha stared at the numbers, her throat tightening. "I'm a maid. I have a GED. I'm not qualified." David's gaze didn't waver. "You're the most qualified person I know. You saved my life with no training, no authority, no backup. Imagine what you could do with resources." Her hands trembled slightly as she closed the folder. For the first time in years, she let herself believe in something better. 3 months later, Atlanta skyline shimmered beyond her office window. Her office. The gold nameplate read, "Keisha Thompson, Director of Security Operations." In 90 days, she'd flagged 3 corporate espionage attempts, exposed 2 insider trading schemes, and rebuilt the company's entire security infrastructure from the ground up. The woman who sees everything. That's what the staff called her now. But her favorite title came every Tuesday at 3 p.m., when she left early to pick up Marcus. He'd bounce into her car, grinning ear to ear. "Mama, I got Gold Star today," he'd say through David's speech app, his little voice bright and proud. "I love you, Mama." Those 4 words made every sleepless night, every heartbreak, worth it. 3 months later, Chen and Marlowe Enterprises hosted its biggest press event yet. Cameras flashed, investors filled the hall. David took the podium, looking calm and alive. "3 months ago," he began, "someone tried to kill me in my own office." A ripple of gasps spread through the crowd. "They almost succeeded," he continued, "but they didn't count on one thing, someone who sees what others miss, someone who values life over livelihood." He turned toward her. "Keisha Thompson punched me in the face that day. Best decision anyone's ever made." The audience laughed, applauded, rose to their feet. Later, Marcus ran up to David, using his tablet. My mama is hero. David grinned, touching the faint scar on his lip. Yes, she is, buddy. Best left hook in the business. Keisha laughed, real, unguarded, free. As she and Marcus walked out into the Atlanta sunset, hand in hand, she glanced up at the gleaming glass tower, the place where she'd nearly lost everything and found herself instead. She smiled. Being invisible had made her finally seen. So what do you think, friends? Could you have made Keisha's choice? Drop a comment below. And if this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear that doing the right thing, even when it costs everything, can change your entire life. Hit that subscribe button for more incredible stories. Until next time, stay brave, stay kind, and never be afraid to throw that punch when it matters most.